A lot of people know that they'll have required minimum distributions called RMDs, but almost nobody understands how huge those RMDs can get and spiral out of control.
RMDs are a big deal because whether you want to or not, the government forces you to withdraw a specific amount every year for the rest of your life until your IRA or 401k is depleted.
You may feel like you're losing control over your retirement plan that you spent decades building.
But not just that, it can trigger fears about rising Medicare surcharges or higher tax brackets.
And it only gets worse. The more your IRA grows, the larger your RMDs become. And the faster they snowball into a higher Medicare and tax problem you cannot ignore.
Now you might be thinking, well, I'll just spend some of my IRA early or do Roth conversions. If it were that simple, we wouldn't be making this video.
No, this is not another Roth conversion video or another life insurance pitch. This is our supercharged all-in-one strategy, a coordinated 5-bucket system that we created to help shrink your future RMDs, reduce ordinary income taxes, grow your legacy tax-free even without doing a Roth conversion. Yes, you heard me correctly. Protect against inflation, and most importantly, help you actually enjoy retirement instead of fearing it. Rather than giving you a simple 10-minute hack that might only help you with the next 10 years of your retirement, this video is designed to protect the next 30 years and your legacy beyond that.
Let me show you what we mean. We had a recent client named George, 56 years old, with $1,919,000 in his IRA. Nothing unusual, just someone who saved well for retirement. But look what happens to his future RMDs between ages 75 and 85 years old, earning on average 6% per year.
At 75, he was forced to take out over $236,000 per year in taxable income.
By his mid-80s, that number explodes to over $404,000 per year.
And that shocked him since all of that income is taxed as ordinary income,
which will push him right into the highest tax bracket for both federal and state. And who knows how much higher the tax brackets would be in the future. You'll be surprised to see how we helped George maintain the same income he enjoyed while working and why he now feels completely in control of his taxes instead of fearing them. Hi, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kai.
And here's Gracie, our retirement puppy, enjoying a morning coffee with Kai. We've been helping people retire healthy and wealthy for over 21 years, and everything we teach is designed to give you confidence, clarity, and control in retirement.
And because we represent over 50 plans in 50 states, we can help you find the strategy that best fits your situation.
And before we dive in, if you find these videos helpful, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. It really helps us reach more people who are trying to retire with clarity and confidence.
All right, well, let's get into the numbers. Yes, you, along with many retirees, have heard of RMDs, but very few realize how massive they become and how destructive they are for taxes and legacy.
Quick question. Did you know RMDs could grow this big? Comment yes or no below. We want to see how many people actually knew what was coming. And your comments helps this video reach more people who need to hear this. So thank you for jumping in.
And that's the toughest part to accept. The more successful you were at saving, the more the IRS punishes you later. So the real question is, if you're going to be forced to withdraw this money anyway, why wait until the worst tax years of your life?
This now leads us to one of the most powerful windows in your retirement planning. Once you turn 59 and a half, you finally have access to your IRAs with no penalties. If you do this right, many of you watching will have a 15-year window from age 59 and a half to 75, during which you can apply all the strategies that we're going to discuss.
And if your window is smaller, it's still not too late, right? Pay attention to see the strategies that you can implement immediately. Before discussing the strategies, however, you might be thinking, maybe I'll just leave my IRA to my kids or other family members.
Well, that's actually one of the worst things that you can do today.
Why? Under Secure Act 2.0, your children must empty your IRA within 10 years.
That inheritance will be taxed at marginal rates of 32%, 35%, or even 37%. Your life savings become their tax nightmare.
Instead of forcing your kids to empty a huge taxable IRA, learn the step-up and basis conversion bucket strategy first, rather than a Roth conversion. We'll go into more detail about this in a bit.
Why is that more powerful than a Roth conversion? Well, Roth conversions have a 5-year holding period before withdrawals are penalty-free.
Now, we will discuss where Roth conversions fit in this video, but I hate to say it, and Roth conversions are really overhyped.
You serious?
So how did we help George, the client that we mentioned earlier, reduce his massive future RMD taxes, leave a tax-free legacy, keep up with inflation, and actually enjoy his retirement? We showed him our supercharged all-in-one strategy, a coordinated 5-bucket system that redirects and repurposes his IRA withdrawals for strategic purposes.
Now, here's the part that most people never hear. Most retirees only use 1 or 2 of these buckets each year. Why? Because they can't afford to operate all 5 at the same time, let alone the first 3.
But today we're going to show you exactly how you can use all 5 buckets every single year throughout your entire life, and why this approach completely transforms retirement planning. So stay with us.
Now let's break down the supercharged all-in-one RMD strategy.
The first bucket, and one of the most overlooked, is what we call a meaningful spend down. Now, a lot of retirees make a huge mistake. They become so frugal, trying to avoid taxes today, that they end up with massive RMDs tomorrow, just like you saw earlier with George.
A meaningful spend down is not about wasting money or overspending. It's about strategically using your mandatory IRA withdrawals for real, intentional purposes, things that add value to you and your kids' lives.
Yeah, this can include travel and creating lasting memories, home improvements for aging in place, funding passions, paying off debt, charitable giving like QCDs, or even reinvesting. This isn't about burning money. It's about reducing future taxes while creating a richer life today.
Some people ask, though, why don't I just spend from my non-qualified, non-IRA brokerage account first, instead of paying the taxes on the IRA withdrawals now? Well, for some people, that is the right move, and we've recommended that. But for retirees who have unwanted RMDs, want to leave a tax-efficient legacy, and prevent their RMD taxes from spiraling out of control, spending down the brokerage account first is actually the worst thing you can do.
Yes, and here's why. Your non-IRA brokerage account is one of the best tax-free gifts you can leave your family, thanks to the step up in basis.
When your beneficiaries inherit your non-IRA brokerage assets, the IRS will not tax them on the gains you accumulated during your lifetime. The cost basis resets to the value on the day they inherited.
And that means decades of growth are wiped out for tax purposes. Your loved ones owe capital gains tax only on the growth that happens after they inherit it.
That's amazing. So instead of leaving them a fully taxable IRA, which they must liquidate within 10 years anyway under this Secure Act 2.0, take a portion of your IRA each year and reposition it not just to your meaningful spending, but now into your non-qualified, non-IRA brokerage account.
You lower your future RMDs and you leave a tax-free legacy, all without even doing a Roth conversion.
Now, once you've done your meaningful spend down, and once you've funded your step up in basis bucket, then you consider Roth conversions.
Why in that order? Well, because money means nothing to you when you're gone. Use it now to create experiences and memories that will last generations.
Yes, isn't it true? We've all seen people pass away, leaving hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions behind, and they regretted not spending more of that with their loved ones and creating the memories that they don't have now.
Yeah. If you still want a tax-free legacy, that's what the brokerage account is for. It gives you beneficiaries a clean, tax-free step up without restrictions or forced withdrawals, and lowers your future RMD taxable event.
But if you want tax-free income for yourself during your life, then yes, a Roth conversion might be perfect for you.
Just remember the rules. Every Roth conversion has its own 5-year clock before you can withdraw those converted dollars without penalty.
And if you need access from your non-qualified, non-IRA brokerage account, you can do so with no penalties. And your long-term capital gains will be only around 0%, yes, there's a 0% bracket, to 15% in most cases.
Now, let's address the elephant in the room. If you're living on the classic 4% to 5% withdrawal rule, how in the world could someone possibly afford to do a meaningful spend down reinvestment into a brokerage account and do Roth conversions? Especially when you've got two huge risks staring you in the face. First, you have market risk, and second, potentially long stretches of 1% to 2% interest rates. It sounds impossible, right?
Exactly. Think about it. Most people hope the market returns, say, 6% to 8% a year. Some years more, some years less. But then you have to subtract the 1% to 1.5% advisor fee every single year. So honestly, how can anyone confidently withdraw more than 4 to 5% without the risk of running out of money?
Yeah. And here's the kicker. How can you do all three strategies, spend down, brokerage reinvestment, and Roth conversions when CDs, bonds, and MYGAs are only paying 1% to 2% like they did from 2009 to 2022?
You just never know what the rates will be. So plus, you have to pay taxes and worry about inflation. So the math just doesn't work, Ann.
And this is where the hybrid pension comes in.
No, it's not one of those old school annuities that lock your money away for life. And no, it's not a variable annuity charging you 3% to 5% in fees.
We built our entire channel on educating clients about how hybrid pensions work and how they can pay 10% to 20% or more in lifetime income payouts. If you want a deeper dive, click the card up here or check out the curated playlist in the description below.
But here's the short version. A hybrid pension lets you live like you have a government pension, a guaranteed lifetime paycheck, regardless of the market or political unrest.
But you also have a cash value that can grow, and you can change your mind anytime with or without a penalty. Take your cash value, less withdrawals, or leave it behind as a legacy.
And here's the part that most people miss. If you live a long life and your cash value ever hits zero, your hybrid pension still pays you for life. Just like a traditional pension. Okay, we've been doing this too long.
What Kai just said is the key. You get lifetime income with or without cash value. And this gives you income leverage, more accumulation, a stronger tax-free legacy, and the freedom to enjoy life instead of fearing running out of money.
Using a hybrid pension alongside our staging and laddering strategies, we've helped countless clients achieve lifetime payouts of 10% to 20% or more.
Now, let's be clear. Payouts of 10% to 20% are not an ROI. They are not a return on investment. That would just be too good to be true.
I know some of you are skeptical, and perhaps it's your first time hearing about these types of payouts. But these payouts are 100% contractually guaranteed by the insurance company, regardless of how your cash value performs.
Let me ask you, had you ever heard of guaranteed 10 to 20% lifetime payouts before this video? If this is your first time hearing it, type first time. If you already knew about it, well, that's great. Type I knew. We would love to hear from you.
And let's be honest, there's no way you would pull out 10% to 20% out of the stock market every year for the rest of your life and expect it to last. And even if you are making 10% to 20% some years, you know you won't make that every single year forever.
If you tried to withdraw 10% to 20% from stocks, bonds, CDs, you would run out of money very quickly. Your income would vanish long before you do.
And that is why nobody voluntarily withdraws 10% to 20% from their IRA every year without a guarantee behind it.
Right. And this is why 10% to 20% payouts is the secret sauce to supercharging all three strategies we just talked about earlier, plus the strategies we use to guard against taxes and inflation, which we'll get to shortly. So keep in mind that the math we are about to show you can still work for most of you since it's all relative or proportionate.
That's true, Ann. If you are used to making $150,000 per year, you most likely have saved between $1 to $1.5 million for retirement, not $3 or $4 million. So let's walk through this using George, the client we mentioned earlier. He has $90,000 in his bank, $1.8 million in his non-qualified or non-IRA brokerage account, $1.919 million in his IRA brokerage account. If we use $1.5 million of his $1.919 million IRA and apply just a 10% payout, that gives him $150,000 per year. Then we add in his $58,000 Social Security income. So that means he has a total income of $208,000.
But here's the surprising part. We factor in only 85% of his Social Security as taxable. Then we subtract standard deduction. He would still be comfortably in the 24% tax bracket.
Now, before meeting us, he was planning to live on the 4% rule. That would mean 4% of his total liquid assets of $3,809,000, which is $152,360. That's using 4% though of all of his assets.
And even if his assets grew from 3.8 million to say 4.5 million, he would still have to use 3.3% of all the 4.5 million to collect the same $150,000. Because the 4% rule pulls from the entire portfolio. He'd be dipping into his family's tax-free step-up and basis brokerage account.
Or if he tried to avoid touching his brokerage account and only use his IRA for income, he would need to withdraw a crazy amount of 8% of his IRA just to get that same $150,000 a year. That breaks the 4% rule immediately and increases the risk of running out of money. Instead, we're able to capture $150,000 using only $1.5 million from his IRA account, leaving his brokerage alone for the step up in basis, tax-free for his family, and eliminating drawdowns during the market downturn, which removes the sequence of returns risk.
Because his IRA income is 100% contractually guaranteed for life, he doesn't care if there's a market downturn.
And if his non-IRA brokerage account also takes a hit with the market recession, he doesn't have the sequence of returns risk either, because he can simply ride out the storm without being forced to withdraw at a loss.
You can click on this card up here if you haven't heard of sequence of returns risk, or find it in our Step 2 playlist.
Now, George was worried about taxes before he met us, not because of $182,000, because that income per year is only in a marginal 24% tax bracket. That didn't bother him. Rather, he was used to earning $300,000 a year while he was working. And during that time period, the taxes didn't bother him. Why? Well, taxes feel different when you have a guaranteed paycheck in retirement. He wanted the same income he was accustomed to, but running out of money in retirement and paying more taxes scared him away from spending that much.
How do we solve giving him the same income he had before and giving him the peace of mind that he was in control of his RMD taxes well into his 90s? Well, we'll show you in a bit.
Now, if you don't have that much in liquid assets, most likely you didn't get used to a $300,000 income either. If you are used to making $150,000 per year, you most likely have saved between $1 to $1.5 million for retirement, not $3 or $4 million.
Now, let's take a look at how much a 10% to 20% hybrid pension payout would look using $1.5 million. A 10% payout would be $150,000 per year. That's $12,500 per month, guaranteed for life.
A 15% hybrid pension would generate $225,000 per year, or $18,750 per month, contractually for life.
And depending on age or years deferred, a 20% hybrid pension payout would give you $300,000 per year, or a $25,000 per month paycheck, guaranteed for life.
And here's the secret that makes the strategy truly explosive. A hybrid pension gives you 10% to 20% lifetime payouts that are contractual, predictable, and totally immune to market crashes, recessions, or interest rate swings. It's a guaranteed withdrawal engine, something that no portfolio on earth can replicate.
And it's a force that accelerates and supercharges this entire plan. With all that extra income, you'll have enough to do all three strategies we've discussed and enjoy your lifestyle without fear, all while staying in the same tax bracket.
And if you're still thinking that you could do all of this without a hybrid pension, you're right. You just won't be able to do all three strategies every year or accelerate these accounts with 10% to 20% withdrawal rates without the risk of running out of money.
This brings us to the last two concerns retirees have: taxes and inflation. How does this strategy help with both?
Well, let's pull up the 10% to 20% payout numbers again. If you watch one of our videos linked up on this card up here, you'll see how we've helped people generate $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, or even more per month for life. This is what we call our staging and laddering out strategy. Now, in today's video, we won't break down all the mechanics. You can watch those in a playlist later. But here's the result. You end up with more income than you need every year for life.
And this is crucial to understand. The hybrid pension accelerates the entire plan because it adds a second engine, a third engine, a fourth engine, a fifth engine of income, and withdrawals that are not limited to just Roth conversions.
A 10% to 20% hybrid pension payout shrinks your IRA fast, lowers your future RMD curve, keeps your taxable income stable, and maybe even lower your RMDs entirely because your income is contractual and guaranteed. You have a peace of mind to implement all 5 strategies without running out of income.
And without each bucket interfering with the other.
That's a good point, Ann. Let's now break down the 5-bucket system. Remember, the key is making sure that you have more than enough coming out, and the income is not based on market risk.
Correct. If you have a rock solid guaranteed lifetime income stream, then you can take your 10% to 20% payouts and put them into not just the 3 we mentioned earlier, but a total of 5 buckets. Number 1, a meaningful spend down bucket for your lifestyle and memories with those you love. Number 2, reinvest into a step up in basis bucket, a non-qualified, non-IRA brokerage account to leave as a tax-free legacy bucket.
By the way, if you need to use some of this to live on in the future, your taxable bracket, as we mentioned earlier, don't forget 0% to 15% in most cases for long-term capital gains. But it's best to reserve this for your legacy tax-free, as we discussed.
Right. And if you would like to have more income in the future, reposition your IRA spend down to the 3rd bucket and convert some into a Roth IRA.
By the way, this bucket can also be converted into a Roth hybrid pension as well, which is our favorite because not only does it grow tax-free, but it also gives you tax-free income for life.
The 4th bucket is reserved for tax payments. So reinvest that money in a short-term CD or other investments so you can use it to pay taxes.
The 5th bucket is to implement the ladder out and ladder in strategy we created and use these smaller amounts in a smaller hybrid pension to capture 20% to 30% payouts. And if you keep doing this each year or so, you'll be able to beat or even keep up with inflation for the rest of your life.
Which of the 5 buckets do you want to strengthen first? Comment 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or all of them.
At this point, you can see how powerful this strategy becomes when all 5 buckets work together.
And before we continue, if you're getting value from this video, take 1 second to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps this video reach more people who are trying to solve the same retirement problems that you are. All right, well, let's keep going. So instead of moving only $50,000 per year to fund your lifestyle or simply converting it to a Roth, combining all of our strategies lets you move double or triple that amount while staying in the same tax bracket, just like George.
The 4% rule takes around 20 to 30 years to implement, and our strategy compresses it down to only 10 to 15 years.
That's why we call it the common sense, supercharged, all-in-one strategy. Why do we call this common sense?
Well, think about your working years. Were you worried about taxes and inflation? Yes, but you weren't paralyzed by it because you have something retirees don't have, a guaranteed paycheck. You got raises, you got promotions, and you never said, oh, no, please don't give me more money. I want to stay in a lower tax bracket. Of course not. No. You gladly accepted the extra income because you knew it was guaranteed and that your paycheck would cover your taxes.
And when you made more money, what did you do? You saved, you put it into your bank, then you spent some. Upgraded your lifestyle, upgraded your home. After that, you invested the rest into your brokerage account. You weren't afraid.
And because the paycheck was guaranteed and more than enough, it covered your taxes. And your raise or promotion covered inflation.
Do you see why we call this a common sense strategy? If we can recreate the same financial structure you had during your last 20 to 30 working years in retirement, wouldn't that feel almost bulletproof?
Well, that's exactly what we did for George. We were able to use more of his IRA, using our 10% to 20% rule rather than the 4% rule.
And we showed him how to defer and capture more than just 10% with our staging and laddering and our laddering out and laddering in strategies.
Yes, factoring his Social Security and his hybrid pensions, this gave him more than $300,000 of guaranteed contractual lifetime income. While he still hates paying taxes.
Well, who doesn't?
Exactly. He was no longer worried or paralyzed by taxes since he had his guaranteed paycheck back.
Just like when he was working. Whew! We know this might sound overwhelming, but it isn't, because we created these proprietary strategies ourselves and we're willing to teach you.
Yes, no one teaches them better, and no one has implemented them longer. We're here to walk you through this step by step so you're not guessing.
If you watch our 4 curated playlists linked in the description, you'll learn everything. The vehicles we use, the pros and cons, and all of the strategies behind the system.
Our core strategies are in step 3 playlist. Start here so that you have the foundation to truly understand the supercharged all-in-one strategy.
And here's something we hear all the time. Why would I keep paying 1% to 1.5% every year to a financial advisor just to follow the old 4% rule and hope everything turns out okay?
Exactly. You deserve more than just hope. You deserve a real guaranteed plan.
No, we're not saying you shouldn't have an advisor. Think of your advisor as the offensive coach. Their job is to help you grow your money using strategies that involve risks. They're great for that.
But think of us as your defensive coach, strategically using hybrid pensions that are 100% guaranteed with 10% to 20% contractual payouts. A team that protects your retirement, lowers your taxes, manages your income safety, and gives you strategies that you've never heard of and weren't sure how to implement.
We've seen how the 4% rule has not only led many to chase an unrealistic retirement number, but also made it virtually impossible to implement every strategy at once, as we discussed. But with our strategies, we can, just like when you were working.
So, would you like to quit chasing an unrealistic, unachievable retirement number and have a guaranteed income paycheck of $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 or more per month for life, just like your current or your past job? If so, click on this video up here.
Or click here to start watching our Step 1 playlist to learn more about hybrid pensions and how they work. The rest of the playlist is in the description. See you in our next video.